Hello viewers, welcome to 2017. Before I start, I just want to mention that there's been a lot of things going on at Dexter's Lab over the holiday period. Certainly keep an eye out later on in the week for an important announcement. Could be really interesting. Okay, so before Christmas I mentioned that I got my Quantel Paintbox working, and I promised to show everybody exactly sort of how the system works and get some real high quality footage onto YouTube, because there just doesn't seem to be hardly anything out there with actual footage of the Quantel Paintbox. Certainly not something that's been recorded back in the 1990s onto VHS and then coded on into a really appalling quality video on YouTube. So we've got some really high quality capture mechanism here that I will go to in a minute. Which means we should get really decent quality output from the Quantel Paintbox. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'll give you a tour on all the different parts I've got here. I will also boot up the Quantel Paintbox. I will run through some of its sort of most basic features. I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail because really I'm not sure how it works, a lot of it yet. But hopefully what I do show you will give you a bit of an insight on what the Paintbox is all about. Right, let's start off with the bits we've got right in front of us. We have the A3 graphic tablet, big old beast this. Unfortunately it's got power supplies and everything built into it, so this does weigh quite a bit. We also have the keyboard, and we have the rat, which I probably haven't shown you before. This is a sort of a handheld device. It's not a mouse or anything, it's literally just like a little joystick with buttons. And if we look at the actual Paintbox itself here, we have a SCSI port there with just a terminator on it. These ports here are the broadcast quality video outputs. I'm not using those at the moment. We have the serial link to the tablet, keyboard and the rat. That is a RS422 connection. We have another port there which is link. That would connect to a ramcorder if I had one working. The next port along here is a serial port, and that is connected to a laptop just up at the top. I'll show you that in just a moment, and that has the diagnostics serial console. Underneath those we have the digital video outputs. Now this is where it took me a little bit of time to get things set up to get this actually working. What this is CCIR 656 digital video. This is basically a forerunner to SDI, which is serial digital interface, which is a uncompressed digital video system which is often used in broadcast situations. So this is an older parallel version of that digital interface. Out this serial port we have a USB port going up to my laptop, and just there we have a analog monitor video output which is going to a monitor screen just up here. That is just a backup at the moment. I'm actually using the digital video to run into the monitor at the moment. So the parallel digital video comes into this box here. I picked this up at the place where I got all that Quantel stuff from. It basically converts the CCR 656 into SDI. So we have parallel coming in, and then we have serial digital video coming out. The reason I'm using this is because the actual Paintbox doesn't have SDI output itself. It only has the parallel, and most things use the SDI. So I needed to convert that into the SDI so I can start recording it and things like that. This box is a little bit touchy. It drops out occasionally, so hopefully if it does that I will be able to notice it, because the output of this runs to the monitor, and then the output of the monitor then runs to the recording device. So it's really handy that I managed to pick that up, because if I didn't have that I wouldn't have any means to convert the parallel digital video out of the Paintbox. Now on my other Paintbox, the one I would like to get working as well, it has SDI built into it, so I wouldn't need any of this conversion box. Next item is a BVM monitor. This is a broadcast video monitor, so it has quite a few extra controls that you wouldn't normally get on a monitor. And up at the top on the monitor we have a small laptop that is displaying the serial debug console Shouldn't really see anything that's going on here because the system is working and it's really only used for diagnostics and stuff. Now, the important thing that I'm actually recording this on is this device here. So this was provided to me by Mike's Electric Stuff. He had a spare one and he let me use it for a time being. What it does is record HDMI or SDI onto an SSD. It does this fully uncompressed, so we can record the output from the Quantel Paintbox in basically uncompressed digital video, and then I can then transfer this to my PC and then I can get it up onto YouTube so you can see it. So thanks, Mike, for letting me have use of this. Okay, let's turn all of this stuff on. The monitor is already on. That's the digital converter. With a bit of Quantel magic. Okay, welcome to the Quantel Paintbox. I'm just going to give you a quick guided tour around some of the main features on the Paintbox. I don't want to go into a huge amount of detail on this because there is quite a bit to see and talk about in here, and I don't want to make this video too long. I can always do a follow-up video if people want that in the future. So here we have the main menu. There is also the palette as well. To bring these menus and palettes up, you either swipe to the left and right to bring up and remove the menu, and the palette is swipe down, so that brings it back. In the painting menu we have all the brushes and the brush features here to do sort of basic painting operations. We've got a basic paintbrush, a chalk brush and an airbrush, and we can apply these other effects to each of these brushes depending on what we want to do. So paint is like a basic standard paintbrush. Chalk is very similar, but it has a stippled effect, makes it a little bit like chalk, and an airbrush works, but the harder you press the pen, the more paint comes out. I'll just show you the differences between that in a moment. We also have wash and shade options. Those allow us to change the colour but keep the luminance, and shade allows us to change the luminance but keep the chrominance, the colour value. Copy is like a clone tool. Smudge is basically a smudge tool. Restore allows us to restore one of the other images stored in these other two picture stores. Smooth, crisp and blur are very subtle effects. They just allow you to very gently smooth, crisp or blur the image that you're working on. Okay, let's give you a quick painting demo. So we're going to use the standard paintbrush. I'll bring up the palette. Now in here, this is where you select your colours. You have a basic set of colours here, predefined. If you want anything else, you have to mix these colours together to get what you want. Very much like an artist palette. So we can pick up this red and paint that onto there. Let's change the brush size a little bit bigger. Paint yellow. Paint that over it, and then in here you can see there's other colours being created, and I can pick those up, actually use those to paint with. So if I turn off the palette, I can then paint onto the actual image. Now, you've got to remember, all this has actually been done with hardware. It's not actually been done in the software or on the main CPU. It's all done in hardware, all these painting operations. So we can select more colours in here and then pick those up. Use those to paint with. So the other brushes are chalk and airbrush. See there, the chalk has a sort of a more textured effect, and airbrush is a much more subtle effect. And indeed, the longer I hold down the brush, the more paint comes out, unlike the standard paintbrush, which doesn't do that. The smudge tool allows you to smudge the image. Restore allows you to paint through from one of these other stores here, old and new. At the moment we've got a picture of a castle in that one, and in new we have a bowl of fruit. So I can actually restore the bowl of fruit through onto this image just by painting using the paintbrush. Now I can actually swap that to the airbrush if I want to. Flip to the other one, and I can actually paint through this castle if I wanted to. We also have stencils that we can use, so we can draw a stencil onto the image and then use it to mask off or mask in what we want to work on. I'll select airbrush, draw stencil, and then paint a stencil on here. Turn off draw. And if I use the stencil, I can then use that to mask future painting. So let's pick a really vivid colour. I can then use that mask and paint around it, or I can reverse it and then use it the other way. We also have access to the zoom control here as well, so we can zoom in and then pan around and then continue to work. Turn off the stencil. Then paint on the image zoomed in. In the graphics menu we can do basic shapes, rectangles, circles, ellipses. You can do straight lines, Bezier curves and things like that, and allow you to make things a little bit easier than just drawing them freehand. So I can create an ellipse here, well, a circle actually. Draws a circle. Do a solid one. You can stick those down. That's now applied to the image. So we can do that with rectangles, ellipses, and we can do flood fills, etc. In effects, I'm not really going to go into too much detail in here, but for the most part it's used for colour correction and things like that. Paste up is where we can do cut and paste operations. So I can cut out a part of the image and then I can paste it elsewhere. Copy of it, simple cut and paste features. I can do flip and tumble operations and rotate, things like that. I can blend it into the background. And we also have some 3D options here. This is using the perspective card now, which is one of the hardware cards in the machine. So we can do some 3D-ish kind of operations on it. We can simply stick that down. That's done. In animation, there's two types of animation here that we can do. Sequence allows you to actually record what you actually do with the pen and replay it later. Cell animation allows you to do basically like a flip book animation. Just allows you to do a really simple animation feature. These really come into play more when you have the camcorder, because it gives you 12 seconds of full screen video that you can do all sorts of different animation things on. The library is where we can load and save images. So if I do find, so this will bring up all of the images on this disk. So we can load in that image there. We can actually browse through thumbnails, or we can bring up information about them. These are various images that I found on some of the discs that have been with this system. Also, there's a load of configuration options here as well. If you deselect all of the options here, you get to like a configuration menu. It's got the Paintbox version, serial number, date and time, access to the hard disks. We've got some artist options here, which is just like personal preferences for the artist. We can configure the inputs and outputs, so you could have a printer and a modem attached on here if you wanted to. You can configure the video inputs, so this allows you to fine-tune the analog video inputs. We can also configure the digital outputs. So we can have, we've got two digital outputs, and you can actually have the image on one output and have the stencil or the key coming out of another to allow you to key one image over the top of another. And that's more of the analog video output options. In the system menu, we've got option to load in new software. We've got password options to install new options onto the machine, option to install new fonts, and brushes. That's not really used for much at all. And we've got options for disk drive initialization, so we can initialize floppy disks, SCSI disks, things like that. Right, I think that is pretty much what I wanted to show you in this short video. There's going to be obviously more stuff that's happening on this channel with the Quantel Paintbox. I have plans to get the camcorder operational and the second Paintbox machine that I have as well. So there's certainly going to be more of this coming along. So I didn't want to go into a huge amount of detail because I'll probably be covering it again in a future video anyway. See you on the next video. Bye for now.